What we're going to show here right now is a unique system. It's called Invisible Protect. Invisible Protect is a 2-component water base that really mimics the raw look and feel of raw wood. So literally there's almost zero color change to this floor. So it is self-sealing on every species, goes directly on white oak. You don't need any additional sealers. This is the product that you use throughout. It is a 2-coat system with our Universal 100 roller. If you do not have our specific Universal 100 roller, it is a 3-coat system. T-bar, Micro 120, trim pad, whatever you're using, it has to be 3 coats. You're just not getting it on. It's a little bit thinner of viscosity than our other finishes. Our other finishes, as you guys will see tomorrow, are a lot thicker, so we can go ahead and you have a little bit different coverage. And we'll kind of get into the science and all that tomorrow. Invisible is pretty much meant to mimic what you see right now. We have a new additive that we just came out with. It's called whitener. It is a 1-to-1 ratio, 1 bottle, 1 gallon. Very nice and easy. You can layer it in any of the coats that you want. So you can do it on the first coat, you can do it in the second coat and not the third, you can do it in all 3. Now you have the ability to touch up extra white to whatever level you want. If you stained the floor white, it didn't come out white enough, you need to add a little bit more. Or some guys are doing it in all 3 coats and totally skipping white stain altogether. White stain is notorious for super long dry times, right? So we'll get into staining tomorrow as well, and we can get that a little bit better. But notoriously, yes, they have a lot of pigment in them. They're gonna take 2 to 3 days. It's raining today, humidity, you're gonna have to take that into effect. So instead of skipping multiple days of having the dry stain, you can go ahead and use a system like this, okay? So anything with us that has a 2K on it just means it has a hardener. So you just match it up, B1, A1, they all have a number. Match up the numbers, you're good to go. You do need this every single time when you're doing it, the finishes. You will not harden, you will not have the durability without the hardener. It's a chemical reaction, it has to happen, okay? So if you call me and you say, hey, I used the wrong hardener, or I didn't put the hardener in, you're gonna have to go ahead and buff it and recoat it with the proper finish, okay? So we have one here mixed already, and then what I'm actually gonna do, instead of killing an entire gallon, I put the whitener in here already. So then I'm gonna mix a quart at a time, which our mixing cups already have a 10-to-1 ratio for you. So you put the finish up to the line, you go ahead and add the hardener, you can mix a quart at a time so you don't have to kill an entire gallon. Makes it a lot easier when you're doing 700 feet. You do a whole gallon, put 2 of these in, you have the other half gallon left over for the next coat, rather than killing an entire gallon. So you save yourself money. So these are really crucial, use them. They're specific for that, even color coded. You will not do this and store this for a long period of time. This is for sample making, job sites that you know you're gonna do within the next few days. You don't wanna leave the whitener in here for too long. It can go ahead and kind of degrade a little bit. It can settle to the bottom. It can have adverse effects. We really wanna go ahead and put the hardener into the mass and then add all your additives. That's generally the rule of thumb what you do, but obviously we're not gonna go ahead and waste an entire gallon on a third of a panel, right? So for sample making, when you're doing this at home, do the same thing. Just go ahead and label this gallon that it has whitener in it so you don't mix it up with the other gallons. I put the whitener in it, you won't know. Also, when I do my hardeners, and I'm not gonna do it, I don't take the top off all the way. I just crack it open a little bit, I fill it up to my line, and I put the top back on, and then I do it this way. It just goes ahead and stays a little bit more open in there, and it just kind of seals it off a little bit more without having that thing. You also want to be careful, don't get that isocyanate hardener cap directly onto the floor. Just like urethane adhesives, they will etch into the surface. That's what isocyanate does. You will go ahead and leave a blotchy area, and you're gonna have to do a touch-up. So be careful when you're using 2-component finishes with the hardeners. Put a placemat. Mix your stuff outside. Bring it all inside. Don't try to get that hardener onto the floor. It will be an issue. So this is why I also talked about the bucket before. We use a bucket because I can saturate the roller. Our rollers are specific. As Mark said before, I'm gonna get into like the mill thicknesses. This is a Micro 120. it puts down 120 grams of material for every square meter. So every 10.5 square feet, you're putting down 120 grams of material. So guess what we're working in? We're working in 10 square foot sections. So we're working about 3x3, 3x4, and then you dunk again. And that's when you know you're gonna get 500 to 600 square feet out of every single gallon, and you know you're gonna get the protection that you need without having to do a mill gauge test. Now, with a 2-component finish, you are not saving the roller. Don't even bother. The isocyanate and everything gets into it, and you're just gonna have a nightmare trying to wash it out. So don't ever use a sealer roller with a finish. They are different, even single component finishes. So with Invisible Protect, this is the only one that is gonna be a little bit tougher to apply just because of the no color change. So what we really wanna do is put it on heavy. And you're gonna hear me, wetter is better with water-based. You always want it fat. So when you're gonna come on, we're gonna go ahead and do a section, and you only touch water-based twice. So you don't wanna over-roll it. You don't wanna go ahead and touch it too many times because you're actually pulling the finish off of the floor. If you are, for some reason, a pourer and you like the T-bar, I will pour only on the wet side. I am not pouring a whole line on the dry raw wood. Why? White oak specifically, you're gonna raise those tannins. It's gonna be 2 minutes by the time you get to that section that you poured out, it's already darker, done. You're not gonna be able to stop those tannin lead. So even though they are tannin blocking finishes and sealers, you're not gonna be able to stop it. So that's what you have to watch out for. So I normally, when I teach rolling for the first time, whoever's never really done it, I will go cross grain with my first passes. You notice how much I'm doing? I'm dunking again. I go about 3 feet, 4 widths of the 9-inch roller. That gives me about 3 feet, and I go about 3, 4 feet out. And that's when I know I'm getting the proper consumption of the water-based finish. You don't want to go ahead and keep on rolling. So now I have the option. I could stop, I could touch this up this way, I can come back depending on whichever way is easiest for me to walk out. I personally like to work in slightly longer sections because I have a pole that extends. So I'll just go ahead and I'll keep adding on, making sure that I have 100% coverage at this point. Don't worry about the lap lines. We're gonna go ahead and make sure those all go away. Now I'm gonna take my stick, extend the pole, and without redunking, now I'm gonna go and I touch it the second time. So now I go up and down, and I don't even need to pick up the roller at the end. And now I can do a larger area all in one shot. So I don't have to work in small 4-foot sections. I can work in 6, 7-foot sections. And this is it. I'm not putting any pressure on the roller. I'm not pushing down on it. I'm pretty much holding it with 2 fingers. Just letting the finish do the work for you. Don't work for the finish. They put millions of dollars worth of chemistry into these products. Use it. Make life easier for yourself. And you notice I'm being a little bit cleaner with this product, right? I'm not slapping it all over. We'll see it tomorrow where I'm splashing all over with Easy Prime because it has different properties. So Invisible is the only one where you may have to alter your technique just a little bit. You just got to be a little bit more careful with it. Overlap, usually about 25%. Put it on and let it do its thing. The problem is when people will tend to go ahead and try to stretch it out and make it over-roll it, you're pulling the finish back off of the surface. You're not giving that finish enough time for the water to evaporate and the self-leveling properties to work. If the self-levelers can't work, it'll never lay out. But if it's thick enough and it's fat enough, everything's gonna work for you. And this finish, I mean, for what it does, with no sealers, no additives, no touch-ups, no nothing. And I'll show you exactly what I say when I don't pick up the roller, right? So now I can extend that. The roller is just like carpet. You swing, you put your hand across the carpet one way, the hairs stand up. You put it the other way, the hairs stand down. So if you notice that I'm leaving a fat mark up there, then right here, then I will just go ahead and flip the roller the other way. And now instead of that mark being up there, it's gonna be down here where I'm gonna get it on the next pass. So literally, no picking up, no airplaning, no feathering. All those lines will go away. Why? Because it's enough finish on top of it. So it's a wet to a wet section. Just like I said on the pre-tone, as long as you go from a wet to a wet, you will never have an issue. You won't have a problem. Don't get too far ahead of yourself and cutting in. Don't have the guy go 12 feet and then all of a sudden put it on super thin. It's already dry. By the time you get there and put it on with the roller, that section's already lighter. It's already dry. Now you've sealed in that that color change. It's a touch-up. So now, I have my doorway on this side, let's say, right? So now, I'm gonna do my second pass this way because it's easier for me to walk out this way, out of the closet, or out of the hallway, out of the bedroom. Done.